This is the story of how the United States rose from empty land to the world's most powerful superpower. Throughout human history, many powerful empires have risen. Yet none have matched the United States. Despite being separated from other continents by vast oceans, it has managed to exert such deep control over the entire world. The United States covers an area of 9.37 million square kilometers, making it the fourth largest country in the world. So how did it rise to become the world's leading economic and military superpower? I will create a series of videos to explain the history of America's rise. This video is the first episode. The widely accepted early settlement theory suggests that around 25,000 years ago, the first humans crossed into the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge. These early inhabitants are known as Paleo-Indians. They gradually spread across North America. Around 11,500 BCE, one of the earliest cultures appeared within what is now the United States, the Clovis culture. This culture is best known for its distinctive Clovis spear points. By around 10,000 BCE, indigenous peoples had spread across most of North America and diversified into hundreds of tribes and cultural groups. At first, these native peoples hunted large animals such as mammoths and relied on them for survival. But as these large animals gradually went extinct, the American bison became their primary food source. Around 8,900 BCE, the Folsom culture emerged in this region. This culture may have originated from the Clovis culture and was also characterized by uniquely crafted spear points. It occupied large areas of central North America. Around 6,500 BCE, the ancient Southwest culture began to develop in what is now the southwestern United States. This culture was marked by diverse survival strategies, the development of agriculture, and distinctive pottery styles. Around 5,000 BCE, a group of Na-Dene-speaking peoples departed from Asia and may have reached northwestern North America by boat. They initially settled in the Queen Charlotte Islands of present-day British Columbia. They migrated along the Pacific coast and inland, establishing seasonal villages. Summer was devoted to fishing, while winter focused on food gathering. These Na-Dene groups later developed the Athabascan language family and further divided into three branches: Northern Athabascans, Pacific Coast Athabascans, and Southern Athabascans. Among them, the Southern Athabascans later evolved into the Apache and Navajo language groups. Today, Navajo is the most widely spoken language within the Na-Dene family. During the same period, other groups such as Sioux-speaking peoples, Algonquin-speaking peoples, groups following the Oshra tradition, and native peoples known as the Pueblones, also settled in the western regions of what is now the United States. Around 4,000 BCE, some tribes living in the Appalachian Mountains developed distinct Iroquoian languages. These tribes later formed groups such as the Seneca, Cayuga, and Oneida. Around 2,000 BCE, corn cultivation began in the American Southwest. Later, beans and squash gradually became major crops as well. Around 1,000 BCE, a group of people settled in the central Mississippi River Valley, later migrating to present-day Minnesota and dividing into two major language branches, Dakota and Lakota. Around 600 BCE, a culture emerged in present-day Ohio. These people were among the earliest mound builders. Around 100 BCE, several native cultures flourished. By around the beginning of the Common Era, these cultures absorbed elements from neighboring societies and established the Hopewell Exchange Network. This was an early system of tool and goods trade that covered vast territories. However, by around 500 CE, this culture was absorbed into a broader cultural tradition. From 800 CE onward, the Mississippian culture emerged. This culture was primarily distributed across the south-central United States and was distinguished by its construction of large earthen mounds. Its core city was Cahokia, located near present-day St. Louis, Missouri. At its peak in the 12th century, Cahokia had a population of around 20,000. The city was built around a 30-meter high mound. From 900 CE onward, the ancestors of the Pueblo peoples began constructing cliff dwellings in the border regions of present-day Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. These settlements were comparable in scale to cities. One example is Pueblo Bonito, along the Chaco River in New Mexico. It was inhabited between 828 and 1126 CE. Another example is Cliff Palace, which was built between 1190 and 1260 CE. Around 1450 CE, powerful Iroquoian-speaking groups such as the Oneida, Mohawk, and Seneca united to form the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois fought wars with many neighboring tribes. As their territory expanded, smaller tribes such as the Osage and Kansa were forced to migrate westward. Around 1500 CE, some Shoshone peoples living in the western Great Basin crossed the Rocky Mountains and settled across the vast plains region. In the 16th century, some Shoshone groups living in the Iowa region split off and migrated southward, later becoming known as the Comanche. In 1513, Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon became the first European to reach and land on present-day U.S. territory. He named the region Florida, in honor of Spain's Festival of Flowers. In 1526, Spain attempted to establish the first settlement on mainland U.S. territory, San Miguel de Gualdape. However, due to disease outbreaks and a revolt by enslaved Africans, the colony ultimately failed. In 1528, a Spanish expedition led by Panfilo de Narvaez arrived near Tampa Bay on the Florida Peninsula, but a storm caused nearly all members of the expedition to perish. The colonization attempt failed once again. In 1540, Spanish explorer Francisco Vázquez de Coronado led the first European expedition across the American Southwest, reaching as far as present-day Kansas. In 1559, explorer Tristan de Luna established the settlement of Santa Maria de Ochuce in present-day Pensacola. However, the colony was destroyed by a hurricane later that year. In 1565, Spanish Admiral Pedro Menéndez de Avilés founded the settlement of St. Augustine. It became the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement on the mainland of the United States. In 1567, Spanish explorer Juan Pardo established Fort San Juan in a village in present-day North Carolina. This was the first European settlement in the interior of the United States. However, it was destroyed 2 years later. In 1570, Spain attempted to establish a Jesuit mission on the coast of present-day Virginia, but nearly all missionaries were killed by indigenous peoples the following year. In 1562, the French attempted to establish Charlesfort on the coast of present-day South Carolina, but it was abandoned the following year. In 1564, the French again attempted to establish Fort Caroline on the east coast of Florida. However, due to conflicts with indigenous peoples, the settlement was ultimately abandoned. In 1604, the French established a settlement on St. Croix Island in present-day Maine. This marked the birth of the Acadia colony. The colony later expanded to the Gaspé Peninsula in present-day Canada. In 1682, France established the Louisiana colony as an administrative district of New France. This colony covered vast areas of what is now the United States. In 1579, English Captain Francis Drake arrived on the coast of present-day California and claimed the region for the English crown. However, no permanent settlement was established. In 1585, the English established the Roanoke colony on Roanoke Island in present-day North Carolina. This was England's first colony in North America. However, the colony ultimately failed. Its residents mysteriously disappeared. earning it the name, the Lost Colony. In 1587, John White led another English settlement attempt on Roanoke Island. Due to a lack of supplies, the settlement was abandoned around 1590. In 1607, during the reign of King James I, the English successfully established their first permanent settlement in North America, Jamestown. The colony was named Virginia, in honor of Elizabeth I, known as the Virgin Queen. In 1620, a ship called the Mayflower carried a group of English Protestants fleeing religious persecution to the coast of present-day Massachusetts. They established the Plymouth colony. After a year of poor harvests and harsh winters, the colonists achieved a successful harvest the following summer. In the autumn of 1621, at the suggestion of the colony's governor, people hunted wild ducks, turkeys, and fish, harvested corn, and held a celebration. This event became the origin of Thanksgiving in the United States. In 1628, English colonists established the Massachusetts Bay Colony. In 1629, the province of New Hampshire was established, with John Mason becoming its first proprietor. In 1632, Maryland was founded as a refuge for Catholics, similar to the Virginia colony. Its residents were primarily farmers and plantation owners. In 1636, clergyman Roger Williams opposed the colonists' treatment of indigenous peoples and the religious intolerance of the Massachusetts Bay Colony's governor. Together with others, he established the Connecticut colony. The colony's economy initially relied on the fur and tobacco trades. In 1691, the Plymouth colony merged with the Massachusetts Bay Colony to form the province of Massachusetts Bay. In 1712, Carolina was divided into North Carolina and South Carolina. In 1732, Georgia was founded by British officer James Edward Oglethorpe. The colony served as a buffer zone between British colonies and Spanish Florida, and as a place for the rehabilitation of former prisoners and the poor. Georgia was the last of the 13 colonies to be established before the American Revolutionary War. In 1621, the Dutch West India Company established the colony of New Netherland. In 1624, the company funded 30 families to settle on Manhattan Island. The following year, Fort Amsterdam was built, and the settlement was renamed New Amsterdam. It became an extension of the New Netherland colony. The city developed rapidly, and soon became an important port and commercial center. In 1638, the Swedish New Sweden Company sent an expedition led by Belgian merchant Peter Minuit to establish Fort Christina in present-day Delaware. This marked the birth of the New Sweden colony. Over the next 17 years, 12 expeditions brought settlers from Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Norway, Russia, Poland, Germany, and Sweden itself. They established multiple settlements, making the colony a multicultural region. In 1655, during the Second Northern War, the Dutch of New Netherland conquered the New Sweden colony and renamed it New Jersey. In 1663, Carolina established its port city of Charleston, which became an important commercial port in the region. In 1664, the English conquered the Dutch colony of New Netherland, seizing New Amsterdam. They established the colonies of New Jersey, New York, and Delaware. In 1667, the Treaty of Breda was signed, marking the end of the Second Anglo-Dutch War. Under the treaty, England agreed to cede Suriname to the Netherlands. In exchange for control of New Netherland, New Amsterdam was renamed New York, in honor of the Duke of York, James Stuart, who later became King James II of England. In 1673, the French colony of New France expanded from Canada into the Great Lakes region, reaching as far west as Lake Michigan. In 1681, religious thinker and writer William Penn founded Pennsylvania as a refuge for religious dissenters. The following year, the city of Philadelphia was established. In 1722, the Iroquois Confederacy adopted the Great Law of Peace, which became its constitution. At this point, the transformation of the American continent from unclaimed lands to the framework of the colonial era was complete.